Hey, it's Stevie. Hi, Benz.
Hi,
Hello.
nice to meet you. I came to an orientation probably like a couple months ago and then didn't have the ability to join SoftGov, but I told Chewy and a couple other people that I really wanted to learn more. So I watched a couple of you all's YouTube videos and hopefully I can just kind of stick in the background for today, but this is
Oh,
really
amazing. Welcome. That's
thank you.
awesome to have you here. So, should I just say DB or it's DB or hey, it's DB?
Yeah, DV is fine. Or Danny. Both.
Okay, cool. Um, yeah, so today is a special day because we launched. We finally launched. The TC is out there, ready to, yep, ready to fund so many token engineering projects, token engineering public goods. So I just wanted to give a quick tour on our gardens and say that there are a few proposals there already. So if you have TEC tokens, go there and vote. Sam was the first one to create a proposal, of course. And Angela submitted the TE Academy proposal, and she just gave some updates today of how they are working with a whole team of people to make the first token engineering bachelor course, and that's gonna be like coming up soon. Very exciting, amazing to see this happening. It's almost unbelievable after a year or a year and a half, almost 2 years of hearing about this, and it sounded like such a faraway dream for a bachelor token engineering course, but it's coming closer than we think, and we can help funding this. And also just a clarification that abstain proposals are just for delaying the rest of the proposals because they use conviction. So it gets harder for every other proposal to pass. I would love to see if there was any type of justification for this one. Just curious, but it was surprising to see that it was there so quickly. If anyone knows, just
The
let me know.
abstain proposal, or
Yeah.
oh yeah, it's just trying to raise the minimum conviction that's needed, so you don't have like a bunch of small, $100 proposals passing really quickly.
Yeah, no, and I know that. I just didn't know why now if we had just these two proposals up there. But
Yeah,
I guess
There's three.
we'll see a lot of stuff happening. Three? Oh, oh my God, Zeptimus, were you the first one?
No, not really. No, I just posted
Oh,
like.
okay. Oh, there's three. Congrats. Transparency is there. Amazing. Cool. So, well, after some deserved celebration and really congrats to all of us, to this community, to the stewards, to everyone who made this happen. I wanted to have a more chill and just insightful question today because I feel like it's been a long time. Um, Sorry, I'm coming from so many calls and I didn't prepare this agenda, but the rest is on Miro, so it's not all bad. Um, so the question is, what have you been reading, or what type of content have you been consuming, if any? And is there a particular insight you want to share from that? And I'll pass to you, Benz, to start.
Hi. What have I been reading? I read all Nonviolent Communication and a Wendell Berry book, Unsettling of America, and then I'm reading Consilience right now. So that's kind of been this month. And it's really interesting to see like how all these things kind of interact and overlap. The Wendell Berry one's definitely kind of like this anti-extractive economies and more like agriculture based, but that same kind of thread. So it's been really interesting to see his perspective on that and just kind of advocating for more regenerative systems and kind of how that meshes with token engineering and kind of the self-governance and putting the tools to govern the things that you care about into the hands of the people who are actually participating in that. So
Awesome.
well, you want me to pass?
Yeah, thank you.
I'll pass to Tam.
Cool. Well, pretty regularly. I read The New Yorker. It's a subscription I've had for probably 20 years. And so that's my gateway to the rest of the world, I guess, a lot of times. And then I have a stack of books next to my bed that sometimes if I'm trying to get to sleep, I'll pick one up and I'll read it. It's The Fiat Standard by Safety Nemu's Debt by David Graeber. I've read it already. I've listened to the audiobook a few times, but it's just so much in there. And I keep coming back to it and it keeps giving me new ideas. And The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron. Just a way to create a lifestyle that's creative and productive. So I find a lot of tips in there that I like a lot. Of course, Eleanor Ostrom, Governing the Commons, which I keep coming back to as well, because something that I keep picking up new things, especially every time I talk to Livia, and then I have to go back and and look it up. So those are kind of the stack of books I have right now. But I'd say like regularly, I pretty much finish The New Yorker every week. It's my like happy place. If I feel stressed out, I take a bath and read The New Yorker, and life is just amazing for me again. So it's sort of the thing I read the most. And I'll pass to Nate.
Thanks, Tam. Yeah, so I have just reread the Balzac and the Little Chinese Seamstress. It's one of my favorites. It just kind of captures Chinese culture during the Mao Revolution and how kind of, as re-education and these young boys find kind of solace in forbidden Western books. And it's just a really cool tale, and it's just nice to see with like how the impact of the written word can really influence individuals and groups. And, yeah, I just really like it a lot. And I just had it on my shelf for a long time, and I just started rereading it about a month ago, and almost finished with rereading it, so it's really cool. But yeah, and I will pass it to Wonka.
Please write the names of in the agenda so other people can catch to it if they want, because it's too hard to
Hello everyone. Yeah, I have been reading a lot of legal contracts because we are making a research with SEM to build to expand Celeste capabilities and we have been reading a lot of contracts to see how can we implement some of that into our project. And yeah, my other distraction is that I have been working a lot with things related to gravity, and super excited about the Commons upgrade. Yeah, I will pass it to Miguel.
Yeah. Hi, everybody. I'm Miguel. I'm new here. Actually, I work in One Hive TV, and I just want you to congratulate you guys for this launch that you have. This tech token. I already buy a few tokens, and yeah, I just here to learn, to see how you guys are like working, and yeah, I'm gonna pass to Mitch.
Hey, Mitch. Welcome. The question today is, what have you been reading, and if there's any interesting insight for it? And of course, congratulations. You launched.
Thanks. Wow, what a question. Well, I've been reading Game of Thrones, so I wonder what I could impart from that. um, I don't know. I don't know what to tell you guys about Game of Thrones, but maybe I'll leave it there. I'm hoping just to listen in and catch up on Softgov, and I will pass it to Tam. Have you gone?
I have, but I'll tell you what I learned about Game of Thrones when I read it. I read that there are some people with the most astounding imagination and creativity. And I was so impressed with this entirely new world, a new language, and new maps, and new customs, and new culture that was between the pages of that book. And I'll pass back to you, Livia.
I'll pass to DB. Danny.
Okay. Strangely enough, I actually just finished rereading The Hobbit, which I found honestly just really refreshing, given everything happening in the world. It was like a fun oasis. And I read the Economist, the magazine version. I try to every week, and I like that because it feels somewhat objective and has a lot of numbers in it, and I find safety in numbers sometimes. And then the last thing I read was a play that's really, really short, called Chewing Gum by Michaela Cole, who's the one that also wrote I May Destroy You and a whole bunch of other things. But it's a really beautiful short play that you can read in like 20 minutes, but like leaves you like really just thinking about your relationships towards others, as well as, even more importantly, your relationship to yourself and how you treat yourself and what words you say to yourself, and how to hopefully stay inspired. So that's what I've been reading. I think maybe everyone else is gone.
Zaptimus?
Oh, Zaptimus.
Yeah, I started like 2 weeks ago reading How to Make New Friends and Influence on People, and I think it's a very good book, and I recommend it. Actually, my sister is working out, so I'm very proud. But I mean, yeah, I think it's, yeah, you have to read it because it's, yeah, you get the message, and I think it's a very cool book. Yeah, back to you, Libby.
Thanks. The book I've been reading that is inspiring me a lot, I mentioned it the other day, but it's from Bell Hooks, and it's all about love. And she talks about like how to describe love, and how because we have never attempted to describe love, that there is a very big gap there of our common understanding of the word and how many conflicts this can generate, and that usually people feel like they don't want to describe love because they would have to face lovelessness, and facing lovelessness is a whole process of healing and self-awareness and all that. But she does it from a very like philosophical and a very very uh, well-based way. It's really cool. I recommend. Cool. Thank you all for sharing. And I want to jump into this mural board. Let me put the link in Softgov. So I finished taking a first attempt at just mapping what are the examples of each one of the principles in the TEC. So for the new people in this call, Softgov has been responsible for implementing Ostrom's 8 principles. She has a book called Governing the Commons that Tam mentioned, and each one of these principles, according to her, affect that if we have sustainable commons or not. So we've been trying to implement them, and it's been a while. So now I think it's time to look at all of the implementations we had and what are the metrics for success. So how could we measure ecosystem health moving forward, and what are for each one of these principles. And then if we feel unbalanced in some type of ways, maybe we need to review the metrics, or maybe we need to review the processes and how we've been doing, just to see if the TEC is continuing to be healthy in somehow a permissionless way, the most permissionless possible. So I don't know what is the best time to do this. If it's reading out loud, maybe it will take too long. Maybe we have a minute for each, or less than a minute it takes. Do you want to read them, Nate, of clearly defined boundaries, the metrics for success in the TEC implementation?
Just before, where's the link?
I put in Softgov.
Yeah, I'm down with that. Let's see. 1 second.
If everyone could jump in there, that would be great, because then you can also leave notes in just another color of sticky note. And
Is this the correct Miro board?
it's the TEC retrospective. You just have to
Okay, gotcha.
find.
I see it.
Yeah.
Okay, so clearly defined boundaries and metrics for success to start off.
Yeah, maybe they should be reversed, right? Maybe start with examples and then metrics for success.
Okay, and you want me to start with the clearly defined boundaries?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so TEC examples of implementation of clearly defined boundaries as the augmented bonding curve, access rights for communication platforms, the individual roles that we have, tokenized voting, our covenant, our Discord onboarding, our user journey, clear governance processes, the trusted seed, praise powers, vesting period, ID solutions, the metrics
And
for
this
success.
I put in blue because it's something we don't have yet. Yeah, sorry.
So it's hypothetical, like, or
Mhm.
in the roadmap. And so the metrics for success for that are arbitrage between the bonding curve and secondary market is happening. So right now we have that, I guess, to a small degree. It's clear for everyone the rights and responsibilities of the TEC token, i.e. governance and funding TE public goods. we do have that. Retention of new members. Okay. Graphics from reward system analysis. Contributions in relations to the TE flower. Numbers on praise leaderboard. Ratio of lurkers versus participation. Everyone has access to our rules. So.
Yeah, so in this case, they are a little bit, thank you. They're a little bit of, they're not so good metrics because it's hard to understand how to measure them. But this is the closest I could get to like retention of new members might be easier because we can measure that percentage of retention. Does anyone has questions about this, or maybe we read them all first, and then two questions just to have more of an. Mitch, do you want to read the second one?
Yeah, the top column there, or the top row.
Of them. So first the TEC examples, and then metrics for success of the congruence between appropriation and provision.
Okay. So the TEC examples of implementation, we have the entry and exit tribute, bonding curve setup, TE public good proposals, MVV Gitbook, conviction voting, reward system, cultural value production, and initial buy-in. Okay. Metrics for success, percent of proposals that are aligned with their mission, percent of working groups that have revenue streams, number of TE proposals funded per month, time that takes for funding pool to be replenished after proposal rounds, DAO parameters reflect the community sentiment, impact of proposals to the funding pool, percent of entry tribute attached to a proposal. Okay.
Thank you. And just this is a bad name for just like having a sustainable model. Like congruence between appropriation and provision is just that we have like there is an equilibria between what enters and what exits, and that we have roles to create that equilibrium.
Could you call it sustainability?
Yeah, maybe you could call it sustainability. But sustainability feels like it's too broad of a term, right? Maybe people would be confused.
Would they be more or less confused?
Maybe state of equilibrium. I don't know if that. Does it help? Or is it still confusing?
I think it's about the same.
So sustainability.
But I see what you mean, like supply and demand, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, almost supply and demand, but for the abundance of the system and not for necessarily the regulation of the market. It will also regulate the market, but it has more aspects to it.
It might not be perfect because it kind of implies like a top-down regulation, but like a balanced budget kind of. That might help people frame it. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, commons, I guess if the commons is dealing with shared resources, there'll always be something to budget, right? Makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay. It was just to offer a clarification of this principle that sometimes is hard to understand. But that's good. We have some more names to it. And Benz, do you want to read the number 3? Are you in the mural board?
I'm not. I can read it from your stream though. And I think I just requested.
Oh. You were, yeah. Thanks, Tim. So
Okay, so
principle 3 is collective choice agreement arrangements. So it's basically that the community has power, has decision-making power over everything.
okay,
Go
so
ahead.
just go ahead and read these ones.
Mm-hmm.
Duocracy, individual and working group agency, collaborative economics / params dashboard, polycentric governance framework, mission, vision, values, the trusted seed, sprint planning, praise quantification, source cred parameters, communications channels, and ritual. And then our metrics are percent of voters in every proposal, average percent of voter engagement in a set period, including all our voting platforms, number of new people making proposals in a set period of time, diversity of voters or number of new voters in each proposal, number of criticisms that are shared with a potential solution versus sole criticism, number of stewards participating in stewards calls in a set period of time.
Thank you. Thanks for the grammar correction. Is it okay to just move forward to read them all, or are there questions about them so far?
I think it helps to look at it piecemeal because, well, me personally, I'm gonna forget what happened two principles ago.
Okay, so maybe it's good to ask questions for each one at a time.
Yeah, I do have a question. Why would we consider steward participation a metric for success?
When we talk about collective choice arrangements, it's just like how much are people participating in the system, and then if stewards are, like, the definition of the role of the stewards is just people that are keeping the communication alive. Like, think of a mycelium network, that the communication needs to be fluid across all places. Then if the stewards are aggregating, like, points of information from these further places and communicating among them, this would empower everyone to make decisions, because it would increase the flow of information and communication.
Kind of,
in the system.
but I think steward participation is kind of like a closed loop, because stewards nominate stewards instead of the community. And so it's like steward participation, I don't think, because we nominate ourselves, it doesn't really reflect like greater community participation.
And this could be a proposal for something to change, of like, how could the community propose stewards.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a closed loop now, because there is I see what you're saying. Like, I think the stewards have relationships with a broad spectrum of the system, but maybe we're missing one feedback loop input, that it would be the community saying, like, oh, maybe there's a person that knows a lot and would be facilitating this flow, and this person is not there. So Maybe we can add suggestions with the orange tag. This could be a snapshot proposal. Does anyone has other questions or comments about this? Or any of the ones we spoke so far? Okay. So is it helpful if I explain like rationale for why picking each one of them? Or if it's unclear, you can ask questions.
Maybe if somebody explicitly asks, otherwise you could just move on.
Okay. Danny, are you in the board?
No, sorry, that's why I'm squinting at this screen. I requested access in my email.
Oh, let me get
There's two people that requested access and they were both approved. So you should be able, you should have received an email, but if you try to jump in the board again, you should be able to.
Okay, thank you.
No problem.
Thanks, Dan.
Did you find us here? So maybe while you're looking for it, you can read the next one. Zap, do you want to read monitoring?
Absolutely, yeah. Sprint planning and retrospective, advice process, YouTube calls recording, proposals on the forum, public calendar, SendHub, community calls, covenant, praise, reward system analysis, and transparency audits. And then for the, let me reread the name. For the metrics of success, asterisk of challenged proposals, a number of challenged proposals in a period of time, number of working groups or proposals flagged by transparency audits, data analysis from reward system, have clear sanctions and how to proceed with them, percentage of meetings being recorded, habits trends, mutual monitoring, no external authority. I just read that. I think what we're trying to do with transparency is just the opposite. Like transparency wants to foster transparency but not impose it. So I don't think like transparency, at least the ones we're doing, is going to flag anyone. That's not the intention. But yeah, just clarifying that.
And perhaps we
you
could
don't
read
think-
out the actual principle before we go through each one too, just to kind of get a reference.
Good point. Thanks, Nate. So you said, Zaptimus, that you think working group, you think the transparency audits wouldn't have
No, there's no score anymore, like it was in the past. Right now, like we are just pulling objective data, and then it's up to the people to read the data and make their own assumptions. And all the data is going to be...
but the community could still flag them, right? So maybe this is wrong to say that it's by the transparency. Number of working groups or proposals flagged by the community based on transparency.
Yeah, that looks better.
I feel like there are things missing here. I think something from the reward system too. Did anyone add this here? Habits and trends? Maybe this was still from before. So monitoring as a principle it's actually like mutual monitoring. So if we have a self-governed system, the people who participate in it should have the ability to regulate themselves and to monitor themselves. So if there is any behavior that is not respecting like the rules, like this equilibria of the system, or there's something that is overstepping the boundaries and harming, like possibly attacking the system or harming the system, then the monitoring should be coming from the people that are on the ground, the people who are making all of the decisions, and not by like.
Would a metric be considered like gravity cases?
That's more for like graduated sanctions and.
But I mean, like, if we see that people are opening them, that means that like the self-monitoring maybe is working.
Yeah, that could be.
Like if people feel empowered to like report that is wrong or that creates conflict. Not necessarily if it's resolved or like the end result, but that at least people are reporting things, and that means that they're monitoring it somehow.
Yeah, I think if it's based on, if it's like the number of gravity cases over the number of conflicts, then it makes sense. Because otherwise it would be like we would have no reference of what against what. So if we know that there are conflicts that weren't brought to gravity, maybe this is a monitoring issue.
Yeah, we have an unknown factor, and that's like number of conflicts, because if it's never reported, it can't be quantified.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is there, like, are there cases that are reported that don't like make it to gravity, or is it basically if like there's an incident, it's gonna go to gravity no matter what?
Maybe
I think a lot of it's touch and go. Yeah.
Yes.
Sorry. Oh yeah, one second.
Yeah, I would say that not all conflicts are handled by gravity. And also, our first reaction when people come to us is to ask them if they have already tried to communicate with the parties. So before making a mediation, we always like first tell to the people to try to directly manage the case. So like the ones that are open are the ones that need some kind of facilitation, and the other ones are some signaling. Sometimes people want to have advice process on something or share an idea or a feeling.
I also think a good metric is the amount of people surrounding any type of initiative. So you don't have kind of isolated work going on that goes unchecked. And so the more people you have involved in a single Zen Hub issue or a D-Work issue, it provides that kind of monitoring assurance.
This might be a metric for one of the other principles, but I think it might fit in well with monitoring. Something we could track over time would just be like number or percentage of token holders that also have the quantifier role, because that kind of indicates like the higher that percentage, the higher level of participation in that praise quantification process. I can add a sticky note too if you want.
Oh yeah, go ahead. I put that sticky one there. That's a great one. Anything else on monitoring?
Yes, Softgov.
Okay. So, Danny, do you want to read the graduated sanctions? So, graduated sanctions, just a brief explanation, is how can we make punishment? This word is terrible, but it is what it is. How can we make punishment as gradual as possible? So, if there is something that it's very small that happens, that people don't feel hugely impacted for it, and that there's like gradual ways to align behavior and to communicate that something is not working. So we have a very preventative approach of not wanting to have to get to that point, but having that there just in case we really need for something that it's more severe. And this is it has to be in constant debate of what types of sanctions do we have. And Ostrom actually has something really beautiful. She says that graduated sanctions offer the possibility of forgiveness. So if there is something that people can do to make up to something they did that wasn't aligned, and that can make them feel better and repaired to the community, that they should have the possibility to do that instead of suffering in guilt or whatever. So you can go ahead, Danny.
Okay, thank you. So the bottom ones, the DAO being able to burn tokens in case of serious misaligned behavior, Celeste collateral tokens, public written warning, guideline for scale of conflict and transformative actions, personal written warning, warning plus deleting offensive proposals or posts, graduated banning from Discord 1 day 1 day, 1 week, 1 month. And then up at the top, have clarity on what can happen depending on what type of infraction, clearly defined consequences, which is good, cultural agreements, clearly stated consequences, kind of the same, I guess, stated and defined, vehicle for feedback, and then on-chain penalties.
Yeah, so this ones, I didn't really work on this because I felt very confused about the metrics on graduated sanctions. Because it's not that having them would mean that we are successful, you know. Maybe it's something similar to the monitoring, like maybe number of infractions that were addressed.
I don't know that I would say that having them means we're successful or that the inverse means we're successful, but I think that we're aware and tracking them would sort of be, that's the box to check, right? Are we actually tracking that this is happening? And if it needs to happen, is it happening, or is it just being ignored?
Yeah, I second that with what Tam said. It's kind of, we don't really have an input to track them. So like, I feel like a metric for success would be like a reporting, documentation or some way to track what type of sanctions have been given out and whether those individuals came back and started participating again, and whether we retain them after a sanction had been given out.
We might actually be tracking this in gravity. I don't know. What would you say, Carlos? Do you have any insights on that?
Yeah, I was reflecting on this, and I agree with Livy that like we cannot say that we are successful because of the numbers of cases that we have. I think we are working on, and we have a registry of each of the cases that have been handled, but I don't know what would be like a metric for success. Even I think that a metric for success would be like a decrease on the number of conflicts. I mean, that would be like the best, but we can also say have a decrease if we lose legitimacy and people don't want to conflicts mediated by gravity.
And so I kind of get concerned about this area because, if we do have a sanction and somebody distributes a 1-day ban on Discord, it goes through a very small group of people, and that is not kind of a collective, being judged by your collective peers on that type of subject. So it's balancing this kind of anonymity versus like, hey, we're having a collective choice to give you a graduated sanction and then making that aware. And so I feel like if you're, restricting access to somebody from the forum or from Discord or any of our platforms, then it's a very small group of people doing that, and it kind of violates that type of approach, that Commons approach towards graduated sanctions. I don't know if anybody has any thoughts on that. Like the decision to ban somebody from Discord has to go through 8 people, which is 8 administrators of our Discord channel right now. And so maybe one person outside some type of misbehavior that may go through gravity, but then those 8 people would have to decide whether they wanted to issue that graduated sanction and not a collective choice by the community.
Maybe what we could have is a group that is elected by the community to be responsible for this kind of thing. Because if we had like the whole community being responsible for it, it would be a shit show, and it would be very bureaucratic. Like it would take forever to do something that might have like an immediate character. Maybe there could be like a group that is elected, kind of like we elected laser tag, to have this type of ability.
What if you treat like gravitons as like the pool of quantifiers and pull like a random group from there, kind of like almost like a jury? I don't know if that's the way you would frame it, but
Yeah, kind of having Celeste on the ground, right? Like we have Celeste for conviction voting and TAO voting. We should have some type of like Celeste group for everything else too. That doesn't like everything that it's not CV and TAO voting. We could even ask if Celeste people would be like interested in extending their reach, or we can create where that could be gravity responsibility, but that we have some type of similar way for jurors to be like, maybe we could have like the staking of some tokens, like this, a similar mechanism.
Yeah, I think that it works really well if we had like a stake slash system. But I also, I don't know. I think that the only sanctions that we can actually give out are going to be centered around our centralized tooling, and so that are gatekept in a lot of ways. And so I don't. Yeah, it's really difficult for me to say like, do we have a list of like possible graduated sanctions? Like, what other, outside of restricting access, can we give to someone?
Yeah, there's a forum post, and
Link there in the mural.
yeah, most of the things are like a graduated sanction can be a private or a public warning, and also but like, I don't know, I prefer the wording of transformational actions.
It's a hope that they're transformational for it.
Like, yeah, also a graduated sanction is that there's a registry of this of the situation, having a call, also deleting proposals posts, um, losing privileges in the organization.
Yeah, it's one of those things where like when we get to these types of issues and points that we either resolve it culturally or like graduated sanctions is kind of bypassed altogether. But I don't know.
I have to hop off in 3 minutes. I just wanted to ask one question about the DAO being able to burn tokens. I don't believe that's possible. Or in a person's token.
Not you. It would like you'd have to change some of the fundamental permissions of the DAO. Basically, the only thing that can burn tokens is the bonding curve right now.
But I think when we did this document, it was referring to CSTK.
Yeah.
Not to TEC.
I think that's true too, but that's probably no longer relevant as new. I mean, if as new people won't necessarily have CSDK.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think this should be revisited. Like, how can we implement this? How can we communicate about it? Like, maybe even, yeah. Like, how strict are we to the to the covenant and the code of conduct, and how I think we need to restructure this thinking on what is the action on it, like based on the actions that we could have and who are these people that could have this power. How are the sanctions thought about? Well, we almost finished. There's 3 more for next week. And if you have any comments that you want to leave in this board as it is, feel free to do so. And I think the next step would be just refining them to some type of roadmap, or like having people that can take ownership for each one of the metrics, or how we want to check them, then going to the how. But now it's important that we get the what kind of drafted. And then maybe it's going to be like a lot of the transparency working group with SoftGov Zap, and we can talk more about that.
Yeah, totally.
Cool. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks so
Thanks,
much,
Libby.
Livia.
Thank you.
Thanks, Libby.
Thanks,
Thank you.